Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my faithful co-host and adoring and lovely and wonderful wife, Sara Coryell. I just wanted to make you laugh. Sara, we're going to be talking about food purity and self-sufficiency today, and we'll be planting our vegetable garden soon. What do you want me to plant this year?
Oh, that's a tough question. Rosemary. I've been wanting rosemary for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, cabbage and kale and onions.
Red cabbage, right?
Yes, sir, red.
Because that keeps you healthy, except when it doesn't work?
Except when it doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah, red cabbage. The Ballad of the Red Cabbage. I should write a song, or I could do a novel about red cabbage. The little red cabbage that could. I don't know.
A whole book about oatmeal.
Rosemary. Rosemary, red cabbage, tomatoes, obviously.
Sure, tomatoes are great.
I mean, we did like 304 quarts of canned tomatoes this year, and we're over halfway through them
and
already.
Green beans are great, although
green beans,
we still have some from last year. Butternut squash, oh man, jars of canned butternut squash is a great treat.
We just have to do a better job of storing them.
Oh no, you can can it. Canned ones.
Okay, we'll can it then.
It's like pre-made pumpkin pie just waiting to be mixed up.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, not too long and we'll be planting out there.
Yep.
So, what else are you excited about?
The weather. It's nice to hear the birds again, isn't it?
Yes, there are birds, and it's 70 degrees out there today.
My dog remembered that he could run away and enjoy the weather and be feisty now.
I can handle 70 degrees. I got a concealed pistol license class tomorrow, and it's supposed to be 68 degrees. I can handle that. Outside on the gun range, sunshine, soaking up vitamin D, throwing lead down range. It doesn't get any better than that.
Great.
Okay. Well, different strokes for different folks, okay? I understand. All right, Sara, what's on the show today?
Well, today we are talking to author and gardening expert Rick Vuyst, the host of the Gardening Simplified radio show. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with Steve Sulze about how to disengage from neighborhood disputes in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report.
But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. So what's in the news today, Sara?
Trust in government assurance of food safety hits record low. Americans' confidence in the federal government's ability to ensure the safety of the U.S. food supply has reached a record low, according to Gallup's trend dating back to 1999.
What a surprise. I wonder why we don't trust the government. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
Quite all right. The 57% of U.S. adults who now say they have a great deal or fair amount of confidence in the government to keep the food supply safe is down 11 percentage points from Gallup's prior reading in 2019. Roughly 8 in 10 Americans expressed faith in the government to ensure food safety in Gallup measures from 1999 to 2006. After a massive salmonella outbreak in 2007, about 7 in 10 remained confident. Americans' confidence stayed near that level in 2008 and 2019 before dropping last year. While 57% express at least a fair amount of confidence in the government to keep food safe, 28% of Americans do not have much confidence and 14% have none at all. Among partisans, Republicans' confidence has dropped the most since 2019, which could largely reflect the party of the Republican President Donald Trump during his first term, versus Democrat Joe Biden at the time of these polls. 50% of Republicans said they had a great deal or fair amount of faith in the government's assurance of food safety, a 27% decrease from 2019. Confidence is also down among political independents by 11 points, from 63% in 2019 to 52% during the Joe Biden administration 2024. Aside from political parties, declining confidence is consistent across nearly all demographic subgroups. One of the largest drops in confidence is seen among parents of young children. 49% express confidence in the government's assurance of the food supply, down from 67% in 2019. 60% of those who are not parents of young children maintain confidence, compared with 68% in 2019. While the two groups held similar views 5 years ago, parents are now much less confident than non-parents in food safety. A separate survey question asked about the safety of food at grocery stores. Americans are less confident now than they were 5 years ago that the food available at most grocery stores is safe to eat. Roughly 7 in 10 Americans, 72%, say they are very or somewhat confident, down from 81% in 2019. When Gallup last asked about food safety in 2019, the U.S. government had issued more than 330 food recalls that year, including the viral FDA announcement that romaine lettuce was linked to an outbreak of E. coli infections. In the first 6 months of 2024, 578 food products were recalled. While safety advisories and food recalls aren't new, there is declining faith in the federal government to ensure food safety. The drop in confidence could reflect Americans' recognition of the difficulty in responding to the large number of health threats in the food supply, as well as declining trust in the government in general. Americans' confidence in the food available at most grocery stores has also deteriorated, which speaks to the challenges that the industry and the government will face in both keeping food safe and reassuring Americans that it is safe.
Well, actually, I found that article kind of encouraging. I mean, that people are finally waking up, not trusting the government. Food, your food source, that's pretty important stuff.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you got to have food, right?
Yeah.
And if the food source is poisoned, then that means you're poisoned too.
Right, absolutely.
I'm encouraged by RFK Jr., some of the stuff that he's doing, the direction that he wants to go with it. I'm encouraged with going to the store and seeing all of the organic food that is there. That's really nice, especially for a family like ours with so many food issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about it? You haven't said anything.
I'm encouraged that people are waking up to it, and also these polls were mostly taken during the Biden administration, so I also am very excited to see where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, I think probably it's trending in the right direction, but people are still a little bit too sheep-like.
Well, if it's pretty, you should eat it, right?
Well, no, and it tastes good, right? If it tastes good.
Pretty, it must taste good. I mean, my goodness.
No, well, that's the reason we're having Rick Vuyst on the show today, because more and more people, they want to grow their own food because they don't trust the food that they get from the store.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging. I think you're going to love hearing Rick Vuyst. He's funny, he's entertaining, and he's
practical.
he there's nothing he doesn't know about plants. You ask him, about anything, and he'll have an answer for it.
Pun to go with it, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. He's great.
All right, good article, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks.
And now it's time for our home defense show hero of the week. Who's our hero this week, Sarah?
This is a great one. You guys are going to love it. Hikers exploring narrow cave rescue lost little girl. There was a video of a group of hikers discovering a lost little girl at the end of a narrow, dark cave in an Oregon National Forest. It's gone viral. The video was posted to a YouTube channel called Exploring with Josh. It has more than 1.2 million views since it was posted last Sunday. The group of 4 hikers made their way into the Ape Cave. It's a lava tube in Gifford-Pinchon National Forest, which became an increasingly tight squeeze. The video shows the group reaching what they think is the end of the cave and then making the surprising discovery. Just as we were about to leave, this little girl pops up out of nowhere and scares us, Josh told the camera. She was just there, alone, by herself. So I started talking to her, but she doesn't answer me. She had crawled the whole way there by herself, with no light. Eventually, her parents were yelling her name in their language, and she went back. But she just started crying. It was a crazy situation.
There's a lot of different ways to be a hero in this country, isn't there?
Yes.
Well, I thought you'd like that because you grew up in Oregon. Have you ever heard of that area before?
It wasn't close enough that it's a name I really recognize. It sounds kind of familiar, but not... Like, I have no picture, image, or anything.
Have you ever been a spelunker?
I have, yes.
Have you really?
I have, yep.
Scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah.
I don't like being in enclosed places in the dark.
Yeah.
at all. And
My imagination is too active for that.
oh, well, I would have the fear of getting in a tight enclosed place and not being able to turn around.
I think I'd be imagining enormous spiders mostly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, spiders, snakes,
Yeah.
rats, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but this little girl, she was. I
Yeah,
don't know how she
yeah.
ended up there, but just to hold it together at all
Well,
was amazing.
And I watched the video on this, and boy, she just came out of nowhere. But there were 3 or 4 times where this group of young people, they were seriously thinking, "Oh, we need to turn back. We need to turn back," because they were afraid. But they,
And they had lights and
yeah,
camera and
yeah,
each other. And
they kept going, and thank God they did keep
yeah,
going,
yeah,
or this little girl would probably have died in there.
seems likely.
So what's the kid's name that
I don't.
was leading this expedition? Josh,
Oh,
wasn't it?
Josh. Yeah. Thought you were looking for the girl's name.
All right. So Josh, congratulations. You're the Home Defense Show Hero of the Week
Yes, thanks for saying it.
in a rather unusual way. All right. Well, all right, Sarah, what's coming up next in the show?
Next, we are talking to author and gardening expert Rick Vuyst, the host of the Gardening Simplified radio show. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with Steve Sulze about neighborhood disputes turned deadly in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report.
Going to be good, folks. You don't want to miss it. Steve Sulze was really good this week, so stay tuned for segment 3, and of course, Rick Vuyst. After you watch this, you'll be saying thank you very much to everyone that you meet. So, in the meantime, God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
The mere sound of his voice makes women swoon and men storm the gates of hell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was a beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, ShootingClasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. And now I'd like to welcome a friend of mine back to the show. He's the host of the Gardening Simplified radio show and author of the book, I Just Wet My Plants. Rick Vuyst, welcome to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, thank you very much, Skip. Pleasure to be here.
That's right. All right. And Rick, I have Sara with me as well today. You've met Sara before.
Yes. Good morning, Sara.
Good morning.
All right. Rick, I've been hearing a lot in the news about, I guess, problems with our food supply. You know, it's like every week I'll hear about some type of, E. coli on the lettuce or something like that, and just a general decline in the U.S. food supply. And I think that's prompting a lot of people to garden where they normally wouldn't do that. Not talking about flowers, I'm talking about vegetables. Have you heard anything like that yourself?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, a few years we experienced something I call a plant-demic, where people suddenly realized, hey, you know what? It's a good idea to grow your own plants and grow them in your backyard and grow some vegetables. And that has really developed into something where people have realized that not only vegetables, perennial plants, berries, that sort of thing are great to grow in your own yard and provide some self-sufficiency. People have extended it over to flowers. Growing your own cut flowers in your garden has become hugely popular. And what's been fascinating for me, someone who works in the industry, is to see how it has branched out. See what I did there, Skip?
Yes.
Has branched out into all different areas. I'm fascinated by plant breeders. This group of ladies in Serbia who breed roses and have developed edible roses. We're now eating, we've got a great new cultivar coming out this year called Flavorette, and it's grown specifically for the purpose of eating it, an edible rose. So yeah, this is something that has legs and has only just begun, and I think people are recognizing how important it is to grow plants in your own yard. I have told people for years, Skip, you know this, if you haven't killed any plants, you're not trying hard enough.
Well, I assure you, I'm trying hard enough, because I look at a plant and it dies.
It's okay. People always say that to me. I have a brown thumb, and I'm like, that's a piece of information I would have liked before you shook my hand.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. Well, so a rose by any other name just doesn't taste as good. Is that what you're saying?
There you go. You rose to the occasion.
All right. Well, aren't there, you mentioned growing flowers. Aren't there some flowers that have medicinal values as well?
Oh, absolutely. All kinds of them. And, anybody who grows a garden or has a plot of land surrounding their home, for example, in my opinion, should grow herbs. You look at the beautiful flowers on chives, and chives are one of the toughest plants you can grow. And of course, we can eat chives also. I have often used the example of garlic. Garlic is probably, we joke about brown thumb and not being able to grow plants. Garlic, I think, is one of the easiest plants to grow. Everybody should grow it. It's fun, rewarding, easy. Why don't more people grow garlic? I think growing garlic is a great idea.
Yeah. Well, Sara, you've got So she makes her own garlic salve and a
Ooh,
whole bunch. Tell Rick about some of the stuff that you make.
Oh, I'm still learning it, but there's like a healing salve and a like a muscle, like joint soothing salve. They have like 10 different, like really strange herbs in them, things I really just don't know. Like St. John's wort, I don't know.
oh yeah.
Um, menthol, I think I can't grow that, but
Yeah, she makes this stuff. We grow the garlic, okay, and then what do? You like soak it in?
oh, I haven't tried it from our grown garlic. We got dry. It was dried out from Costco, and we chopped it. But you soak it in oil for like a long time,
Sure.
and then press it. Yeah,
And then
and
you
then
press
add
it out,
beeswax.
and
It's
she uses
not
that to make
toxic.
and garlic is like an antiviral too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, antifungal,
Yeah.
antibacterial.
Oh
So
yeah.
It could.
You look at all these different herbs, and Sarah, you mentioned St. John's wort, which is
I did.
hypericum. We
Okay.
use that as a wonderful ornamental plant in the landscape, and a plant that's really seen a resurgence in interest.
Okay.
As a
It
matter of
grows here?
fact,
Good.
yes, it grows here. Wonderful ornamental plant, along with all the different benefits you get from hypericum or St. John's wort. A few years ago, I was on a roller coaster at Cedar Point, one of these kinds that invert you, and I noticed in the upside down position that they had it planted all over the ground there. So it's a great plant.
That was not what I was looking for, but good for you.
Yeah,
Your presence of mind.
yeah, and you mentioned chives.
yeah,
Um, those grow those grow like all winter long here in
yes.
our woods behind our house. It's like they never ever die.
Correct. They don't. And so it's such a great plant. You know, another perennial herb that's fantastic to grow, oregano. I
Oh,
grow oregano not for the benefits or even to use in foods, but rather just for the flowers. It's such a beautiful plant. So there's
It is.
all kinds of opportunities in our yards.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there are people out there who want to start gardening, for to feed their family, but they're not sure where to start. What are you mentioned garlic is easy to grow. What are some other things that are hard to kill, that are hard to fail at?
Well, first of all, I would mention that if you want to start, look down, not up. In other words, look
Mm.
at your soil.
Oh,
You want the traditional thing that people tell you to do, but can be tough to accomplish, and that is you want a moist, well-drained soil. You don't want plants to sit in water. Water is the number one killer of plants. So a moist, well-drained soil. So I say where you start is in fall. In fall, you collect up maple leaves, you grind them up, you till them into the soil. We want lots of good organic matter in the soil. It's going to make all the difference in the world. Where to start? You know, in the gardening industry, we've always told people to start by trying to grow a few tomatoes and peppers. It's difficult not to be successful, especially if you have sunlight. As a matter of fact, we've always called tomatoes and peppers the gateway drug to gardening.
Well, we canned 304 quarts of tomatoes
Whoa!
last fall. Uh, they're but they're half gone already. I mean, but
That's great.
yeah, oh, we love tomatoes. I guess they're good for you, you
They're
know,
good for you.
and you can use them in just about anything. I mean, goulash, chili, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this year I just started my tomato plants here indoors yesterday. Can you give me some advice on starting plants? Because last year they just didn't do well, and I think I may have put them out too early or something. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, there's a hardening off process, of course, that takes place with tomatoes or any indoor grown seed plants. When you grow them indoors, you want warmth and humidity. Once the plants start, then we transition over to good air movement and light. so that we get a good sturdy plant before we start moving them outdoors incrementally to harden them off before we plant them out in the garden. And then with tomatoes, I have always found the important thing is as this plant starts to grow and it has that hairy stem at the base, don't plant it at the same depth that it's in the soil when you move it outside. Deep plant them, maybe pick off some of the lower foliage. Deep plant them because you want a good root system on that plant. That way, when you're watering it, it gets sufficient water, and we don't get that cracking and zippering of fruit, that blossom end rot that you can get. So, there's all little pointers like that. But a good sunny spot's going to make a difference.
Yeah, they're a hot weather plant, right?
Yeah, definitely.
A few years back, I sent you a text because my tomatoes, they were growing really well, and then all of a sudden they started rotting at the bottom of the tomato.
Yeah.
And you gave me some good advice that worked. So why don't you give that again to the listeners?
Well, I think if you're fertilizing tomato plants or vegetable plants in general, calcium is an important element. So anytime you're growing vegetables, you want to give them nutrition, just like we as people need nutrition. And there's the major nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, but then there's micronutrients that sometimes we neglect, and calcium's an important part of that. Our soils generally have sufficient calcium within them, but if you're growing them in raised beds or containers, maybe a determinate type tomato, adding some calcium, making sure the micronutrients have some calcium will really help as far as that blossom end rot is concerned.
Yeah. Now, what we've been doing throughout the winter, we have our own chickens, and so we grow, raise our own eggs. And we've been saving the eggshells and then crushing them up.
That's great.
And that's, maybe when I plant them this spring, I can just sprinkle some eggshells around the base of the plant. Would that be the best way to do it?
Sure. Or work them into the soil because, again, you're creating air pockets. You're creating good tilth to the soil. It's organic matter. I make smoothies every morning, and then I take the banana peel and chuck it out into the garden. That's all organic matter. Sure.
Yeah. Well, tell us about Rick Vuyst personal garden. I don't want to get too intimate on the show here, but what's your personal garden look like, Rick?
Well, my garden, of course, has a lot of ornamental material. My front garden is all deer-resistant plants because we have roving packs of deer out here. The back garden, I created a compound. I put up some signs that say "No deer allowed."
Did that work, Rick?
It works. I'll send you a picture. I'll send you guys a picture of a deer standing there reading the sign. Okay.
Yeah.
But in that area, I grow the edibles. Yes. So we love to grow beans because beans are so easy. And think about it, as far as survivability is concerned too, bean seeds are easy to store. They're quick, and easy. So we love to grow beans, love to grow tomatoes. The favorite variety here, I'd have to say, are green zebras. Sue loves to eat, and my grandson Max loves to eat green zebras, sprinkle a little salt on them. So beans and tomatoes are definitely favorites. And then you want to know what my garden looks like. One of the things I love to do, I love cucumbers.
Oh, yeah.
And cucumbers are so good. And what you do is you just take some chicken wire, some mesh fencing, you create a little frame, and you lean it at a 45-degree angle. That's what you grow your cucumbers up, because cucumbers are susceptible to powdery mildew, downy mildew. And that way, when you get sunlight and you get air movement underneath that frame, the cucumbers thrive. You'll have so many, there's nothing tougher than giving away tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchini in August,
Yes, when everyone else has them.
Exactly.
Well, I like that the concept of growing up rather than horizontally, simply because I'm 67 years old, with a back injury. So, like bending over and picking bush beans.
Oh, yeah.
that's rough on my lower back. So last year I started growing them. I've got like a 6 foot fence, chain link fence. I just grew them up
Yep.
instead. And so I pick the top half and I have my kids pick the lower half so that I don't have to bend over. But I'm trying to lose weight right now. And so I found that green beans, just string beans, right? They're fairly low in calories and fairly good for you.
Yeah, and great protein for you. And you're right. We're always looking for fastigiate plants. So that's the terminology, fastigiate, something that grows upright, whether it's a vine or it has a fastigiate nature to it. And that also decreases the amount of space or ground that you have to cover,
Yeah.
making things like watering easier. So yeah, I'm totally in with that.
Well, a lot of people that want to do this vegetable gardening, they live in the city or the suburbs or something. They don't have a lot of space. And so, boy, I read a book. It was decades ago. It was called Square Foot Gardening.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I tried, I did that, and it really did work. I mean, you can grow a lot of food in a really short, little small amount of space if you grow it up instead of out like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. It's just like Tom Cruise and Goose said in Top Gun, we're going vertical.
yeah.
And that's what you do. And think about it. You go vertical, you get a lot of good sunlight too.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Sarah, you
Yes,
you had some specific
I did.
questions for
But
Rick. I want to make sure you get your
thank you.
your time here.
Appreciate that. Um, I was wondering if you had some tips on. I have this dream of having a greenhouse that is that can grow vegetables year round, like fresh red cabbage, fresh onions, fresh kale. The kale
Sure.
almost makes it, right? I mean, we get this kale. It'll still be good in November. It'll try to come up again in April. It's hardy. So we have a little tiny greenhouse, but it didn't really work very
It's,
well.
it's about 10 foot by 10 foot.
We don't know how to work a greenhouse. We can keep chickens alive, but that's different.
Can you give us some greenhouse tips
Is it
for
possible?
Michigan?
Well, one thing I would recommend, a lot of people wish now, years ago, we all had a fruit cellar. Now, a lot
Yeah.
of people in their homes wish they had a fruit cellar. If you're looking at that greenhouse concept, the first thing I'd do is I'd get online, do a little bit of research on these greenhouses that are actually dug into the ground. So in
Oh,
other words, just the roof is above ground, but the living area is, yeah. And
that's
and
right.
then if you start thinking about that, Sarah, you mentioned kale. So you look at all the cole crops, cabbage, collards, kale, Brussels sprouts. These things are super, super cold hardy. Then you add to the mix root crops, turnips, parsnips, carrots, easy to keep outside as we head into winter. Maybe we've got a few straw bales available to us. But if I were to do a greenhouse in my backyard, a small greenhouse, the first thing I'd look at is trying to get it into the ground.
okay.
As much of it down into the ground as you can. I think it makes a world of difference. Yeah.
That's a great idea. Never thought of that.
Yeah, we
Really
are.
good idea.
Our property is like it's sloped, so we have plenty of hillsides
Sure.
where we could do that. I guess ideally you would want the south facing probably to get more sun.
You took the words out of my mouth, Skip. You
I didn't mean
are,
to. I'm sorry.
you are an entrepreneur, let me tell you.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah.
working on it.
In ornamental horticulture, I always have to teach people that too, is that you have, when you think about the sun, you have to think about winter, and you have to think about where is it in the south in the winter time, low on the horizon, and you can utilize that benefit.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, you had something else.
I did. I had some medicinal type plant questions. I have heard that golden seal is pretty amazing and that it used to grow in our area, but that it's more rare. I went trying to find some golden seal powder to make a salve with it. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that wasn't in my budget. at all. But I thought maybe I could grow it. And so I went looking, I found some roots. It was like $7 a root. And I'm like, well, okay. Like I don't want to kill it. I've any hints?
Yeah, you can grow it.
Okay.
And it is a plant that's listed as endangered because of over harvesting.
That's what I thought I read.
But it grows from a rhizome. And when a plant grows from a rhizome, that's an indication to you that the plant is a survivor. No different than daylilies, like ditch lilies. Anything that's rhizotomous, has adventitious rhizotomous roots, it's a survivor. So that's a great thing. If you look at the botanical name, it has canadensis in it. That means it's native to the North, Canada, the northern sector of the United States. So you should be able to grow this plant. If you have moist, well-drained, shaded soil, you would be able to grow golden seal. So if you could start it from a rhizome and establish the plant, then you should be able to grow it for yourself, and probably would be endorsed and encouraged because, again, it's a native plant that's kind of endangered.
Okay. So you did.
right.
Okay. Would so not swampish soil.
Right. In other words,
you
want a moist woodland type of soil, needs some shade. But once you're able to establish those rhizomes, then you should be able to continue to grow.
Is there anything I can do to encourage them? Like, do I just put them in the ground? They said you plant them in the fall. Do I need to cover them for a little while for the first winter? Should I cover them with something or?
Well, initially when you plant rhizomes, or for example, when you're planting garlic out in your yard, your fall planting, a light layer of leaf mulch over the top doesn't hurt. Basically, all that does is it helps stabilize the soil temperature. It always helps initially with the establishment of those kind of plants.
Okay. Do you cover the whole thing, or you just kind of put it around the base?
Just around the base. You're just helping regulate the soil temperature a little bit.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Wow. That's really helpful.
All right. Well, hey, we are running out of time, Sara.
Already?
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun. Tempus fugit, right? That's not Dutch. Just so
right. I understand.
But hey, Rick, before you go, tell us about some of the things that you've done. You've published some really good books. I mean, you've been on the air for decades. How can the listeners find out more about you, get your books, all of that stuff?
I'll just visit my website, thankyouverymulch.com. So that's thankyouverymulch, MULCH.com. You can take a look at my speaking schedule there, the stand-up comedy that I'm doing. And then, of course, also my participation in my podcast, radio show, and YouTube show. That information, I teamed up with a gal, Stacy Hervella, who worked for years with Martha Stewart in New York City. We're having a great time. And our website is gardeningsimplifiedonair.com.
Yeah. Now I can vouch for that. I catch that show as much as I can. If I'm in my truck on Saturday mornings, I'm listening to your show. And
Thank you.
It's a really, really good show. It's a lot like what we've just done, right? I mean,
yes.
People, call in with all kinds of questions, and I'm amazed that you know so much, and you never seem to be stumped by questions.
Well, the reason for it, Skip, is number one, I love plants and gardening. Number two, I have now become a senior citizen. And senior citizens love to dole out gardening advice, whether you want it or not. I'm in a Home Depot the other day, and this guy's got a can of bug spray. He says, "Is this good for bugs?" I'm like, "No, it'll kill them."
That's true. All right. Well, Rick, hey, I want to thank you very much for being on Home Defense Show today, and I'd like to have you on again.
That would be a lot of fun. It'd be a kick in the plants. Thanks, Sara. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Skip. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, this is Skip Coriel on the Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll get some expert advice on the details of self-defense in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report. All right, folks, during the break, I want you to log into rumble.com and search on the Home Defense Show. I've posted a series of entertaining and educational videos there just for you. Check them out, and don't forget to like, share, and follow. God bless and stay safe, because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Centershot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Centershot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
He's old, he's cranky, his back hurts, and he can't remember where he put his car keys. But his mother still loves him. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coriel.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. And I'm your host, Skip Coriel. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Appletree Media, and Centershot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with self-defense instructor Steve Sulze from the great state of Missouri. Steve, thanks for coming back on the Home Defense Show today.
Of course, always glad to be here.
All right, Steve, tell everybody the name of your school and, just like 20 seconds on what you do.
Yeah, so we've got two training facilities here in St. Louis. One is Extreme Krav Maga, which is our hand-to-hand combat self-defense, defensive tactics, and then Extreme Tactical Defense, which is our firearms training company. Both companies integrate the two together, so being able to transition, in a fight, headlock, bear hug, something like that, to transition to higher force. And then also, once you're at higher force, whether to make that decision of engaging, your threat or not. And then along with those things, we work weapon retention, decision making. We do law enforcement, military, arrest and control tactics, and then civilian training for our local community every day.
All right, the whole ball of wax then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my experience with Krav Maga is it's pretty extreme to begin with. So you take it even further.
It's funny, yeah. So, I named the business. I was just trying to think of something cool. Krav Maga
Yeah.
St. Louis was already taken at the time, and extreme just kind of sounded kind of neat. And it's funny, we actually do have a lot of people that come to us and they're like, "Whoa!" They're like, they said exactly the same thing. Krav Maga is already a little intense. Like, how extreme do you get? And I'm like, it's just a name. It's just a name.
Yeah, it's cool though. I like it.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, Steve, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read off this article. It's a little bizarre, but
Yeah.
that makes it interesting. So this is from Baltimore, Maryland. An argument between neighbors led to a home invasion, and now a Baltimore man is wanted for attempted murder, according to the U.S. Marshal's Office. Larry Braxton, age 44, is wanted on numerous charges, including attempted first-degree murder, attempted second-degree murder, home invasion, and weapons-related charges. According to court documents, officers were called to a home on Sheldon Avenue in East Baltimore at approximately 7:45 p.m. There, investigators said they found a woman lying near her suitcase with multiple gunshot wounds to her lower body. The victim was rushed to an area hospital where she was later interviewed by detectives. It was a Sunday evening. Neighbors were preparing for the week ahead when suddenly the sound of shouting was met with a piercing blow of shattered glass. According to the statement of charges, during an argument with her neighbor, a woman admitted to picking up a brick and throwing it at the front door of her neighbor's home, shattering the glass. It's unclear what the argument was about. The woman told police she then walked back into her home, where a short time later she heard loud voices and kicking at her door. Investigators said the neighbor she had been arguing with and his father, later identified by investigators as Larry Braxton, age 44, kicked in her door and entered the house armed with a gun. According to the charging documents, the unidentified male suspect, later identified as Larry Braxton, produced a handgun and shot the woman as she tried to flee upstairs. Quote, Mr. Braxton is accused of shooting the woman multiple times, said Matt Silverman, deputy marshal with the U.S. Marshal Service. The statement of charges indicate while searching the basement of the home, investigators recovered 22 gel caps of white powder suspected to be heroin, ammunition, empty handgun magazines, and several pieces of mail addressed to Larry Braxton. This was in Larry Braxton's home. Investigators specified Braxton is prohibited from possessing a firearm or ammunition due to prior felony convictions, including a 2019 CDS possession with intent to distribute, first-degree assault, CDC possession with intent to distribute. A warrant has subsequently been issued for his arrest. It's extremely important to get someone like Braxton off the street, said Silverman. Braxton stands at about 5'9" and weighs approximately 125 pounds. And Steve, when I first read that, I thought 5'9", 125 pounds.
He's a little guy.
That guy is seriously undernourished. And I was thinking, okay, maybe drugs can do that to you, I think.
Yeah, especially if the pills they found were heroin, that kind of makes sense.
Oh yeah, you can't live on heroin.
No.
But well, Steve, what is your initial impressions of this situation?
Like it's tough because this is your neighbor. You got to live next to this person regardless of what happens. Obviously, you call the cops. What happened before the brick being thrown into, the window? Something obviously caused the lady who got shot to throw this brick through this gentleman's front door, probably something serious or ongoing events. And, it's always what happened 15 minutes before these situations that tells the real story. And, has this lady called the cops multiple times and nothing's happened, things like that. So it's crazy that, that's the action that was taken, and thinking that there was no repercussion going to happen. Because usually somebody like this Braxton guy, most people in the neighborhood probably have an idea of what he's got going on in his house, right? If he's selling drugs or the type of person that he is. So my thought would be that she should assume that he's going to retaliate after something like that. So even if you called the cops after you threw the brick, like, oh, hey, I just screwed up, I've got a scary neighbor, and trying to get them involved sooner than later. But it's unfortunate that, that she got shot in this situation, but luckily, from what I read, looks like she did live. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, what is it? It's over 80% of handgun victims, they do survive. And I think that's probably a testament to our emergency medical services more than, or just our criminals are just
bad,
really bad
yeah.
shots. I
I
don't
think,
know.
yeah, definitely a combination of both. I would think.
Yeah. Well, this was definitely kind of crazy. I think probably all of us have people in our lives, and FBI crime stats, they say over 80% of murder victims knew their attacker. And that just, to me, when I read this, it just brought home, you got to be really careful who you let into your life.
Hmm.
Obviously, a neighbor, you're kind of stuck with, with
Yeah,
your neighbor unless you're willing to move.
right.
But man, I don't know. I don't know.
And
Um,
I've heard some stories in our classes that we teach of disgruntled neighbors, whether it's dogs next door, whether
mhm.
it's kids, jumping over the fence into their yard, or their toys coming into the yard. And we get these different types of questions, and everybody always thinks that, oh, well, the kids on my property, they're trespassing, or the adult or whoever, I can shoot them. And I don't know where this had originated, but you cannot use deadly force against someone who's trespassing. And I actually had a friend who thought that they could, and had to explain to him, no, that you can't protect your property. Yes, it's private property, but you can't use deadly force just because someone is on there. Yes, you can go engage them, talk to them, tell them to leave. If they don't leave, you call the cops, da 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 da. And I've heard this from multiple people, especially in our concealed carry classes. We have a lot of people that come through, get their CCW because they live on a farm or they live out in the woods. They go out riding four-wheelers or go for a hike, and they carry their firearm with them. And they always say, well, if I encounter someone on my property, I'm going to shoot them. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, you're going to go to jail for murder, and
Yes.
that's not the first step that you should take. Now, if things escalate, you ask them to leave, they get physical, and you feel like you need to defend yourself and your life is in danger, different story. But 9 out of 10 people are probably going to just listen and leave. And then this also goes into where obviously it's super important to be armed and ready. I can tell you that if I had an argument with my neighbor, even being untrained, just if I was an average person and I threw a brick through their door, the first thing I would do would be coming in and being ready to defend my
Yeah.
castle because I know that they're coming back tenfold. Like nobody's going to take something like that lightly. And same thing, if someone threw a brick through my window, my immediate response is going to be obviously angered and want to storm over there and crack some skulls. But that's the purpose of training, and what we offer is to realize you can't let your emotion get in the way, because when emotion gets in the way, typically you're going to make a mistake and do something illegal.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes ego and pride
Hmm.
gets in the way too,
Of
and
course.
I don't know, a lot of times ego or really intense emotions, they cloud your judgment, and you just do things that you normally wouldn't do in the heat of passion.
Yeah.
I've done that before too, and later
Yeah.
on regretted it and had to
Sure.
apologize and stuff like
Yep.
that. But it seems like in this case, I'm guessing there's a history, like you said, and these things have been going on for a long time,
Hmm.
and there's just bad blood. And
Yeah.
I think both of these people, they could have handled it a heck of a lot better. When in doubt, call 911 and
Yep.
let them talk you down off the ledge or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, and with these priors that he had, 2011, 2004, 2019, so, first degree assault, drug possession. And, this is happening everywhere, especially in liberal cities, more and more, as to where criminals just aren't being locked up, or, they get out the next day. We have the same problem in St. Louis City. And, being a huge advocate of law enforcement and locking up people who are guilty when they do things wrong, this guy would have been put in jail. This incident could have been prevented. Obviously, on the flip side of this, folks are always pushing, oh, well, we need better gun control. This isn't a gun problem. There's many problems in this. Obviously he did not possess the firearm legally. Criminals are always going to find a weapon and find a way to commit the crimes that they need to do to get by, regardless of how that's done. And, so that's something else also, I kind of like to look at.
Yeah. Well, he already had a brick, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
it was in his house now, so
right.
he had
Finders
that.
finders keepers, losers weepers.
That's right. Yeah, I think you lost your brick. Let me give it back to you. Yeah, this was just crazy all the way around. De-escalation. Okay. I mean, it may not have been able to de-escalate in this case. Normally, when you're already violent, you don't really want to de-escalate. Talk about de-escalation just for a second, because I know your Krav Maga people are really big on that.
Yeah, so we've shifted in our teachings at my school. So that there's something we call de-escalation and then also disengagement. And what we've shifted to teaching is more disengagement instead of de-escalation, because what the data shows for civilian encounters is that when you try to de-escalate with someone, they've already made their mind up that they're going to take action. So in this situation, let's say that the neighbor went over there and instead of throwing the brick, tried to talk or yell or scream at this person. Obviously the guy that shot her was already heated, because again, of whatever had happened before. And let's say she answered the door, I mean, as soon as she opened that door, there's no conversation happening. He's shooting her point blank range, right?
Yeah.
So what we teach is disengagement. So disengagement in this situation would have been not to walk over there with the brick, to call 911, give all the facts and information. And again, if you think that this guy had drugs in the house or illegally weapons, say those things so that they can, go hopefully make entry and or get a warrant and do what needs to happen and get them locked up. Just the same, for civilians where we're walking down the street. So we were in Orlando to see a concert a couple of weeks ago, and had at least 7 homeless people come up to us within like 5 minutes. Hey, you got money, got time, got a dollar, this, and we teach a simple phrase, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So, and then while we're doing that, our hands are coming up not in a fighting stance and not in like a stop, get away, it's unbeknownst to them, but because they're so close, I need to be able to be one step ahead to defend myself if something happens or if I need to take action. So it's just kind of like, hey, sorry, I can't help you. So it's stern enough that they get the point to not ask anything else. I'm not engaging with them, so I'm not responding to whatever it is that they said, and I'm also not amplifying the situation, because the data shows that when you undermine or insult an attacker or a potential threat, that is what causes them to actually take action. So if they ask you, hey man, you got $20, and you're like, screw off, man, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Or I don't have any cash. All that does is escalate the situation. And now you're in it. And now you're having to, what we call monkey dance back and forth. And you're not going to get out of that situation in a good manner. So we just teach, sorry, I can't help you. Sorry, I can't help you. Our hands are up. We're hyper aware, ready to take action if necessary. And then, obviously continue on moving. Make sure you're checking your 6 when you walk by. But every time that I've done that, since I've learned that in my training, as to where before I would just say no, or don't have any cash, because once I say don't have any cash, then they're like, well, you got that watch or you got those shoes. You got that fancy coat on, whatever, like they want more, right? So this is a disengaging statement, and it works really well.
Steve, I have never heard that before, and I've been in this business a long time, so I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah.
Disengagement, that sounds like a really smart idea, and it's a lot easier than de-escalation because that's a whole skill set all its own.
And honestly, what it is, it's just like a lot of situations happen at gas stations, right? Gas stations are transitional space, and we're good people, and we don't want to appear, strange. We don't want to appear paranoid. We don't want to insult someone. So, when that random person comes up to you while you're pumping gas, everybody just kind of lets them into their bubble and is a nice person. But that's what attackers look for. They're looking for someone who's got their guard down, someone who's going to be receptive, and caring. And that's the issue, is that people just don't want to make a statement and be seen as, mean or not nice in that situation. And it's like, hey, is your life important enough for you to tell somebody to stop or get back? Or you're too close, I will defend myself, or whatever the situation dictates. And it's like, and then if it turns out that they actually were just looking for directions and they were from out of town, guess what? Their demeanor is going to change also, right? And they're going to say, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to spook you, I didn't mean to scare you, hey, can you help me? But 99% of the time, that's never the case. It's
Right.
always a potential threat trying to, get close to you. So,
Yeah. All right. Hey, really good advice, Steve. We're out of time, but before you go, please tell people how they can find out more about your school.
yeah, of course. You guys can look us up online. We do travel all across the country to run workshops and seminars customized, to you. You can find us at xkmstl.com for the Krav Maga business, or xtdstl.com for the firearms training.
Hey, that's easy. I like that.
Yep.
All right, Steve, thank you very much for your analysis, and thanks for being on the Home Defense Show today.
Of course. Thank you.
All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Centershot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, Apple Tree Media for website security, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Self-Defense Scenarios. It's all about how to protect yourself when you're out on the streets. And also check out the Home Defense Show videos on rumble.com. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!